Welcome to GTM's Tax Automation series on OneSource Tax Provision function. So in today's session, we're going to do a little bit of an add-on to the review and edit area that we had discussed in a prior video. And so we're just going to jump right into the tax provision tile. So in your My Datasets area, you can get to the review and edit screen in a couple of ways. If you select the review and edit tab up top, it will take you to the area that we want to get into. And if you notice on your base data set, it will pop up the last data set that you were in. Now, I only have one data set in this my review area, so that's all I am seeing. But if you don't see your data set automatically populated here, simply click on the drop down. Another option is to select a data set and click on the review button, and that will bring you right into that review and edit area. So today we're going to focus on the data entry area. I am just going to pick the temp differences as my area to look at today. And this area, this data entry area, is basically where we come to add information into the system manually. We can also import directly into these individual screens or export out of the screens as well. Now, if you are importing, the data set has to be active. If it's a read-only data set, this import button will not be functional. Okay. Now, anything you are importing or exporting out of any of these screens will be specific to the individual screens. So you have a similar functionality on each one of these screens. But if I was to go into the perm difference area, the only thing I could export out of perm differences would be perm differences. And alternatively, the only thing I could import into that screen would be perm differences. So on this screen, if you want a little bit more real estate, you could kind of pop out so that you kind of get rid of some of the items up top. There, I'm going to come back to these two buttons, but there is a setting area. So if you don't want to see a lot of these items, for instance, we already know what data set we are in. So we could potentially just get rid of this data set. So I'm just going to uncheck that. And then you would go through here and just kind of see anything else you don't really care to see. Maybe you're accustomed to looking at unit codes and not unit names. So maybe we'll get rid of that one too. But obviously these are toggle buttons. So as soon as you want to change it back, you can come right in. It's instantaneous. Now note that if you come out of this area and come back in, you will have to change your settings once more. All right, now the filter button is active. So as you can see, all of the individual columns, with the exception of actions, has arrow indicating a drop down. So if you were to come into each one, you could select an item that you want to look at or various items. You can also search. So let's say I wanted to put 200 in, and that would be the only one I would see. So you can do that as well. Now, once you come in here, you will notice that each screen has a grand total at the bottom. Once you start filtering items out, I'm going to filter on my default class. You will notice once the screen renders again that you now have two lines. One will show you your filtered total, and the other line will show you the grand total that you had seen pre-filtering. Since this is a temporary difference area, something that's a little bit unique to this screen is this override rate, and that you will see when you are just looking at your base temporary differences. It does not exist for perms, pre-tax book income, and of course, the after-tax temp difference area as well, because those are tax-affected numbers. So you will notice that for federal items, and you can tell they're federal items because you only have a federal beginning and ending rate, whereas for state, you will also have the state beginning and ending rate along with the federal. You can override a rate by checking the box. And when you check the box, you will have to put in the new rate. If the box is unchecked, the system is going to take the rate from the default rate you entered at the unit detail screen for federal and at the state unit detail screen for state items. Now, you will notice that there's also another box that is showing up in orange, which tells you that this is active. And this is the option to group items. So we can group items in different ways. I'm going to select all again and take this off. So you can drag any one of these columns to group by. So for instance, let's say I want to group by my classes. I'm going to just drag them over here. And then maybe what I want to see is the units within each class. I'm just going to drag that over here as well. So you can see within the default class, these are the items I have for unit 100. And you can keep going down and see all of the different units associated with that. Now, if you notice, I only have my grand totals because I am not filtering. I'm simply grouping. To get rid of it, simply click on the checkbox, or the X box, I should say, and that will get rid of your grouping functionality. Now, you also have the ability to add attachments in for a line item as well. Simply browse for it, give it a description, and save. On your data source, you filter, you'll notice that I have two right now. This was a data set that I had copied from an existing one. And I also, the system is showing me that I imported data in. So whichever way it comes in, if you manually key something in, it will show manual. If you loaded something from OneSource Work Papers, it will indicate that also. But more importantly, if you double click in this area, it's going to bring up a screen that's going to show you your audit trail. So in here, I simply added a line that I imported in, and it will give you your date and timestamp. It will tell you the user that imported it and some additional information to it. Now, if I come in and manually change something, so let's go here. Let's see, I come in and I'm going to change this. Just going to make this be 4. I'm going to save it. And I'm going to go back. Now you can see it says manual entry because I've done an additional to the import. But you will now see 2 lines. I imported 3.9 and now I have changed it to 4.9. So the topmost line will be the adjustment that is sitting in the system. Okay. You'll also notice there is a delete button as well. So if you needed to get rid of something that you inadvertently put in, simply select the line or multiple lines and just click the delete button and save. All right, that's it for the review and edit screen.